even if it means foregoing profits. We're going to want to know what research you've done, similar to the studies and data that have been disclosed about Facebook. And we're going to want to know whether you will support real reforms, not just the tweaks and the minor changes that you suggested and recounted in your testimony. The picture that we've seen from an endless stream of videos that is automatically selected by sophisticated algorithms and drive more of it to them. If you learn that a teen feels insecure about his or her body, it's a recipe for disaster, because you start out on dieting tips, but the algorithm will raise the temperature. It will flood that individual with more and more extreme messages, and after a while, all of the videos are about eating disorders. It's the same rabbit hole, driving kids down those rabbit holes created by algorithms that leads to dark places. And encourages more destructive hate and violence. We've done some listening. I heard from Nora in Westport, who out was just girls dancing. Avery wanted to exercise more with the shutdown of school and sports, so like most people, she went online. Nora told me about the rabbit hole that TikTok and YouTube's algorithms pulled her daughter into. She began to see ever more extreme videos about weight loss. Avery started exercising compulsively and ate only one meal a day. Her body weight dropped dangerously low, and she was diagnosed with anorexia. Avery is now luckily in treatment, but the financial cost of care is an extreme burden, and her education has suffered. We heard from parents who had the same experience. So we not only listened, but we checked ourselves. On YouTube, my office created an account as a teenager. Like Avery, we watched a few videos about extreme dieting and eating disorders. They were easy to find. YouTube's recommendation algorithm began to promote extreme dieting and eating disorder videos each time we opened the app. These were often videos about teens starving themselves, as you can see from this poster. The red is eating disorder-related content. The green is all the other videos. One is before and the other is after the algorithm kicked in. You can see the difference. We also received these recommendations each time we watched other videos. It's mostly eating disorder content. There was no way out of this rabbit hole. Another parent in Connecticut wrote to me about how their son was fed a constant stream of videos on TikTok related to disordered eating and calorie counting after looking up athletic training. As scientific research has shown, eating disorders and body comparison also significantly affect young men on social media. Young men often feel compelled to bulk up, to look a certain way. Again, I heard about this pressure all too often. We created an account on TikTok. Troublingly, it was easy searching TikTok to go from men's fitness to steroid use. It took us only 1 minute to find TikTok accounts openly promoting and selling illegal steroids. We all know the dangers of steroids, and they are illegal. See, real accountability. I want a market where the competition is to protect children, not to exploit them, not a race to the bottom. That this moment is for big tech a big tobacco moment. And I think there's a lot of truth to that contention because it is a moment of reckoning. The fact is that, like big tobacco, big tech has lured teens despite knowing its products can be harmful. It's sought to associate itself with celebrities, fashion, and beauty, everything that appeals to young audiences. And like big tobacco, Facebook hid from parents and the public the substantial evidence that Instagram could have a negative effect on teen health. But the products are different. Big tech is not big tobacco, and the tobacco products, when used by the customer as the way the manufacturer intended, actually kill the customer. As Ms. Haugen said, our goal is not to burn Facebook to the ground. It's to bring out the best, to improve it, to impose accountability. As she said, we can have social media we enjoy that connects us.
Working to facilitate these hearings on holding big tech accountable. We appreciate that in the slightest. In fact, earlier this year, they changed their privacy policy to allow themselves to collect even more data on Americans. Now they want your face prints and voice prints in addition to your geolocation data and your keystroke patterns and rhythms. They also collect audio that comes from devices connected to your smartphone, like smart speakers. They collect face and body attributes from videos, as well as the objects and the scenery that appear in those videos. This makes sense to some degree to create videos, but given China's propensities to surveil its own citizens, why should we trust that TikTok, through ByteDance, isn't doing the same to us? Most Americans have no.
Snapchat was built as an antidote to social media. From the start, there were 3 key ways we prioritized privacy and safety. First, we decided to have Snapchat open to a camera instead of a feed of content. This created a blank canvas for friends to visually communicate with each other in a way that was more immersive than text. Second, we embraced strong privacy principles and the idea of ephemerality, making images delete by default. Social media may have normalized having a permanent record of conversations online, but in real life, friends don't break out their tape recorder to document every conversation. Third, we focused on connecting people who were already friends in real life by requiring that both Snapchatters opt in to being friends in order to communicate. Because in real life, friendships are mutual. We have worked hard to keep evolving responsibly. Understanding the potential negative effects of social media, we made proactive choices to ensure that all of our future products reflected those early values. We were influenced by existing regulatory frameworks that govern broadcast and telecommunications when developing the parts of our app where users had the potential to reach a large audience. Discover, which is our closed content platform and features content from professional media publishers and verified users. And Spotlight, where creators can submit creative and entertaining videos to share, are both structured in a way that does not allow unvetted content to get reach. Our design protects our audience and makes us different. When it comes to young people, we've made intentional choices to apply additional protections to keep them safe. We've adopted responsible design principles and rigorous processes that consider the privacy and safety of new features right from the beginning. We take into account the unique sensitivities of young people. We intentionally make it harder for strangers to find minors by not allowing public profiles for users under 18. We have long deployed age-gating tools to prevent minors from viewing age-regulated content and ads. We make no effort and have no plans to market to young children. Individuals under the age of 13 are not permitted to create Snapchat accounts, and if we find them, we remove them. Additionally, we are developing new tools that will give parents more oversight over how their teens are using Snapchat. Protecting the well-being of our community is something we approach with both humility and determination. Over 500 million people around the world use Snapchat, and 95% of our community says that Snapchat makes them feel happy because it connects them to their friends. We have a moral responsibility to take into account the best interests of our users in everything we do, and we understand that there is more work to be done. As we look to the future, we believe that regulation is necessary, but given the different speeds at which technology develops and the rate at which regulation can be implemented, regulation alone can't get the job done. Technology companies must take responsibility to protect the communities they serve. If they don't, government must act to hold them accountable. We fully support the subcommittee's approach and efforts to investigate these issues, and we welcome a collaborative approach to problem solving that keeps our young people safe online. Thank you again for the opportunity to appear today, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thanks, Ms. Stout. Mr. Beckerman.
Chairman Blumenthal, Ranking Member Blackburn, and members of the subcommittee. My name is Michael Beckerman. I'm the Vice President of Public Policy for the Americas at TikTok. I'm also the father of 2 young daughters. I'm passionate about ensuring that our children stay safe online. I joined TikTok after nearly a decade representing the internet industry at large because I saw an opportunity to help TikTok responsibly grow from a young startup to a trusted entertainment platform. TikTok is not a social network based on followers or a social graph. It's not an app that people check to see what their friends are doing. You watch TikToks, you create on TikTok. The passion and creativity and diversity of our community has fueled new cultural trends, chart-topping artists, and businesses across the country. It has been a bright spot for American families who create videos together. And I've heard from countless friends and family, and even members of the Senate and your staff, about how joyful and fun and entertaining and authentic TikTok content truly is. And I'm proud of the hard work that our safety teams do every single day to safeguard our community, and that our leadership makes safety and wellness a priority, particularly to protect teens on the platform. Being open and humble is important to the way we operate at TikTok. In the context of the hearing today, that means we seek out feedback from experts and stakeholders to constantly improve. When we find areas or find flaws where we can do better, we hold ourselves accountable and we find solutions. Turning a blind eye to areas where we can improve is not part of our company's DNA. But most importantly, we strive to do the right thing, protecting people on the platform. When it comes to protecting minors, we work to create age-appropriate experiences for teens throughout their development. We have proactively built privacy and safety protections with this in mind. For example, people under 16 have their accounts set to private automatically. They can't host live streams, and they can't send direct messages on our platform. And we don't allow anyone to send off-platform videos, images, or links via direct messaging. These are perhaps underappreciated product choices that go a long way to protect teens. And we made these decisions, which are counter to industry norms or our own short-term growth interests, because we're committed to do what's right in building for the long term. We support parents in their important role to protect teens. That's why we've built parental controls called family pairing that empower a parent to link their TikTok account in a simple way from their own device as the parent to their teenager's account to enable a range of privacy and safety controls. And I encourage all the parents that are listening to the hearing today to take an active role in your teen's phone and app use. And if they're on TikTok, please check out family pairing. Visit our youth portal, read through our Guardian's Guide that's on our Safety Center. Our tools for parents are industry-leading, innovative, but we're always looking to add and improve. It's important to know that our work is not done in a vacuum. It's critical for platforms, experts, and governments to collaborate on solutions that protect the safety and well-being of teens. That's why we partner with Common Sense Networks, who helps us ensure that we provide age-appropriate content in our under 13 app experience. We also work closely with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the National Parent-Teacher Association, the Digital Wellness Lab at Boston Children's Hospital, and our U.S. Content Advisory Council. TikTok has made tremendous strides to promote the safety and well-being of teens, but we also acknowledge and we are transparent about the room that we have to grow and improve. For example, we're investing in new ways for our community to enjoy content based on age appropriateness or family comfort. And we're developing more features that empower people to shape and customize their experience in the app. But there is no finish line when it comes to protecting children and teens. The challenges are complex, but we are determined to work hard and keep the platform safe and create age-appropriate experiences. We do know trust must be earned, and we're seeking to earn trust through a higher level of action, transparency, and accountability, as well as the humility to learn and improve. Thank you for your leadership on these important issues. I look forward to answering the questions of the committee.
Thanks, Mr. Beckerman. Ms. Miller, I hope you're with us. Please proceed.
Sorry, I think I'm having a bit of technical difficulty. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, and now we can see you. Thanks.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Chairman Blumenthal, Ranking Member Blackburn, and distinguished members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. My name is Leslie Miller, and I'm the Vice President of Public Policy at YouTube. As young people spend more time online, and given their changing needs as they grow up, it's crucial to put in place protections that allow them age-appropriate access to information. We do this by investing in the partnerships, technologies, and policies that create safer environments that allow children to express their imagination and curiosity and empower families to create the right experiences for their children. Our internal teams include experts who come from child development, child psychology, and children's media backgrounds. They work closely with the product teams to ensure that product design reflects an understanding of children's unique needs and abilities and how they evolve over time. The advice from trusted experts informs our ongoing improvements for YouTube Kids and our child safety policies. Our child safety specific policies, which I describe in greater detail in my submitted testimony, prohibit content that exploits or endangers minors on YouTube. Using a combination of machine learning and human reviewers across the globe, we commit significant time and resources to removing this harmful content as quickly as possible. Between April and June of this year, we removed nearly 1.8 million videos for violations of our child safety policies, of which about 85% were removed before they had 10 views. We are constantly working to improve our safeguards. We have also invested significant resources to empower parents with greater control over how their children view content on YouTube. In 2015, we created YouTube Kids as a way for kids to more safely pursue their curiosity and explore their interests while providing parents more tools to control and customize the experience for their families. Videos on YouTube Kids include popular children's videos, diverse new content, and content from trusted partners. After we launched YouTube Kids, we heard from parents that tweens have different needs, which weren't being fully met by our products. That is why we've worked with parents and experts across the globe in areas related to child safety, child development, and digital literacy to develop a solution for these parents, which we call Supervised Experiences. We launched this earlier this year on the main YouTube platform. Parents now have the option of choosing between 3 different content choices: content generally suitable for viewers aged 9+ or 13+, and then most of YouTube. The most of YouTube option excludes all age-restricted content on the main platform. We want to give parents the controls that allow them to make the right choices for their children. On YouTube Kids, and even on YouTube for all under 18 users, autoplay is off by default. In the coming months, we'll be launching additional parental controls in the YouTube Kids app, including the ability for a parent to choose a locked default autoplay setting. Our take a break reminders and bedtime settings are also on by default in these experiences. YouTube treats personal information from anyone watching children's content on the platform as coming from a child, regardless of the age of the user. This means that on videos classified as made for kids, we limit data collection and use, and as a result, we restrict or disable some product features. For example, we do not serve personalized ads on this content on our main YouTube platform, and we do not support features such as comments or live chat. And to be clear, we have never allowed personalized advertising on YouTube Kids or YouTube Supervised Experiences. There is no issue more important than the safety and well-being of our kids online, and we are committed to working closely with you to address these challenges. I again would like to thank you for the opportunity to appear today and look forward to answering your questions.
Thanks, Ms. Miller. We're going to do 5-minute rounds. We have votes at 11 o'clock. We have 3 votes, but I think we'll be able to juggle the questioning and the testimony, and if necessary, we'll take a short recess. Let me begin. As you know by now, in August, Senator Blackburn and I wrote to Facebook asking whether they had done any research, whether they had any facts that showed harm to children. And in fact, they denied it. They dodged the question. They disclaimed that Instagram is harmful to teens. Let me ask you, and I think it's pretty much a yes or no question, the same question that we asked Facebook. Have any of your companies conducted research on whether your apps can have a negative effect on children's or teens' mental health or well-being, and whether your apps promote addiction-like use? Have you done that research? Ms. Stout?
Senator, we have conducted research. Much of our research is focused on our products and how we can improve our products and services to really meet the needs of our users and our community. And as I mentioned in my opening testimony, some of the research that we did shows that 95% of users say that Snapchat makes them happy.
Will you make that research available to the subcommittee?
Yes, Senator, we would.
Mr. Beckerman?
Senator, thank you for the question. We believe that research should be done in a transparent way, and for us, we partner with external experts and stakeholders to get their feedback, and we think that this is something that everybody can work together on. And additionally, we've actually supported passage of the CAMERA Act, which would have additional funding at NIH, and we'd love to see this done in an external way, in a transparent way.
Ms. Miller?
Yes, Senator, we work with experts to leverage their insights and research to make sure that our product and policy decisions are up to date based on their insights.
Now, I've asked whether the research has been done that could show negative effects or addictive-like impacts. You've all indicated that you've done that research, and Ms. Stout has indicated that her company will make it available. I'm assuming, Mr. Beckerman, your company will? You're nodding. And Ms. Miller?
Yes, Senator, we have published some research, and we would make additional available.
Let me ask now about the black box algorithms. As you know, these algorithms exist. They function to drive sometimes toxic content at kids, more of it and more extreme versions of it. The consequences are potentially catastrophic, but the companies are, in effect, grading their own homework. They're evaluating their own effects on kids when it comes to addiction and harms. Let me ask you a similar question. Do you provide external independent researchers with access to your algorithms, data sets, and data privacy practices? In other words, if an academic researcher comes to you on child psychology and wants to determine whether one of your products causes teen mental health issues or addiction, could they get access to raw data from you without interference? Ms. Stout?
So, Senator, I think it's important to remember that on Snapchat, algorithms work very differently. Very little of our content is sorted algorithmically.
Well,
So-
I'm going to apologize because I'm going to interrupt just to say the question is about access to independent researchers on those algorithms that you do use. And there's no question that you have algorithms, correct?
Correct, Senator. We do have algorithms, but they just operate very differently. To your question on whether we've had any requests for outside researchers or mental health specialists to come and access that, to my knowledge, we have not, Senator.
But you would provide access to them.
Yes, I think it's important to understand that algorithms for us just operate differently. So it's to compare them against different platforms, just would mean very different things.
That's one of the facts that an independent or external researcher would verify, whether
Indeed.
they are different and how they're different if they are. Mr. Beckerman.
Yes, Senator. We believe that transparency for the algorithm is incredibly important. We were one of the first companies to publish publicly a deep dive in how our algorithm works. We've also opened transparency and accountability centers where you invite outside experts and invite you, Senator, and your staff to come in and see exactly how the algorithm works. Additionally, it's important to give additional choice to people. And in your feed, for example, on TikTok, if you're not interested, you can indicate that, and we're adding additional tools to give choice and transparency to individuals as they're using TikTok.
So external access, okay.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Miller.
Senator, we're very transparent as it relates to the way in which our machine learning works. For example, we have our quarterly transparency report that summarizes the videos and channels that we removed based on violating our community guidelines. Earlier this year, we rolled out an additional statistic called the violative view rate.
Well, again, Ms. Miller, I really apologize for interrupting. The question is whether you provide external independent researchers with access to your algorithms and data sets and data privacy protection. You allow external
regularly.
researchers.
I'm sorry, Senator.
Do you provide that access?
We regularly partner with experts, for example, in child development, mental health, to work
But they
closely
are experts
with them.
chosen by you. If somebody independent came to you and wanted that access, yes or no, would you permit it?
Senator, it would depend on the details, but we are always looking to partner with experts in these important fields.
Well, I'm going to cite the difference between your response and Mr. Beckerman's and Ms. Stout's, which indicates certainly a strong hesitancy, if not resistance, to providing access. Let me ask you, Ms. Miller, I think one of the issues here really relates to the claim that these sites are transparent and truthful, which is belied by our actual experience, and the fact that they favor regulation. In the case of Facebook, they have mounted armies of lawyers, paid millions of dollars to fight regulation, whether it's the Earn It Act and other responsible reforms to Section 230, or privacy legislation, or requirements to be more transparent on algorithms. According to the details made public last week, in a multi-state antitrust case, Google has, quote, sought a coordinated effort to forestall and diminish child privacy protections in proposed regulations by the FTC and legislation. That filing described attempts to encourage Facebook and Microsoft to fight privacy rules and back down on advocacy for legislation, in particular meeting where that exchange occurred. This disclosure made news, but everybody in DC really knew it was true. What was new is that Google's hypocrisy was finally called out. The fact is that Google and YouTube have been fighting against privacy behind the scenes for years. It's hidden in plain sight. It's an open secret. You've been lobbying the FTC to weaken our existing privacy rule. You spent vast sums of money fighting California's privacy rules. I want to ask you, Ms. Miller, what work has YouTube done to lobby against Congress strengthening online protections for children, and is that report and that claim by the multi-state plaintiffs accurate?
Senator, I understand that the material that you're referencing was regarding our point of view on e-privacy legislation in Europe. Our CEO, Sundar Pichai, has regularly called for comprehensive privacy legislation in the U.S. And on behalf of YouTube, I am not aware of any efforts other than to be involved in conversations in a multi-stakeholder way as it relates to any legislation or bills that are being introduced regarding the oversight or regulation of companies such as YouTube.
So you're
look to
saying that
partner.
these reports about political pressure and lobbying against children's privacy and safeguards are just totally false?
I think we work with lawmakers such as yourself regularly to have conversations to share what we are doing on the platform, the updated protections we are putting in place, but also to hear your concerns and to work with you as you contemplate new regulations.
Will you commit that you'll support privacy legislation as has been proposed?
Senator, I'm not steeply involved in the details of any specific privacy legislation, but I commit that we will work with you and partner with you on federal privacy legislation.
Would you support a ban on targeted advertising to children and young teens?
Senator, at YouTube, we prohibit personalized advertising in YouTube Kids, as
So
well
you
as
would-
in
you would
Supervised
support a ban.
Experiences.
Would you support a ban in law?
We have not waited for laws in order to put those types of protections in place.
Well, I hope that you will and that you'll be perhaps more forthcoming in the next round of questioning. I'll turn to the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Beckerman, I want to come to you first. In the past, TikTok has said that it has never, nor would it ever, share and provide user data to the Chinese government, even if asked. Yet your privacy policy says you can disclose data collected to respond to government inquiries. It also says you share data you collect with your parent companies and affiliates, and that you transmit user information to servers and data centers overseas. And earlier this year, the Chinese Communist Party acquired an ownership stake and a seat on the board of ByteDance. So does TikTok share user data with its parent company, ByteDance?
Thank you, Senator. This is an important question, and I'm glad you're asking. TikTok does not...
Quickly.
Excuse me?
Quickly, please.
Yes, Senator. We do not share information with the Chinese government, and I would like to point you to a Citizen Lab report, which is one of the most well-respected global national security experts, where they said, our research shows that there's no overt data transmission to the Chinese government, and our testing, TikTok did not contact any servers within China. And then the report goes on to state, Senator,
let me
that
ask
TikTok
you,
does not pose a threat to national security, and I'd be happy to submit that report,
okay, let me
for the
ask you,
record.
please submit the report for the record. Do any ByteDance employees have access to TikTok user data or any role in creating their algorithm?
Senator, U.S. user data is stored in the United States. Our backups are in Singapore, and we have a world-renowned U.S.-based security team that handles access to user data.
I understand that you say you store it in Singapore. Tell me about programmers, product developers, and the data teams. Are they housed in China?
Senator, like many technology companies, we have engineers in the United States and throughout and around the world.
And so they have access to algorithms and data?
Senator, we have engineers in the United States, and we also have engineers
So that answer is yes. What about Douyin? ByteDance says they are fully separate, but do Douyin employees have any access to TikTok user data or input into the algorithm?
Senator, that's a completely different app from TikTok. And
No, it's a related company. You might want to check that. If the Chinese Communist Party asks you for U.S. user data, what is to stop you from providing it, since they have a seat on the board of ByteDance and they have a financial stake in the company?
Senator, that's not accurate. One, they do not have a stake in TikTok at all.
Oh, yes, they do. It happened in August.
Senator, that's not
That
accurate.
is ByteDance, and we can clarify that for the record. But the record is that the Chinese Communist Party acquired a stake in ByteDance in August, and they now have a seat on the board. So let's talk about TikTok's privacy policy. It says you collect and keep a wide variety of information, including biometric data such as face prints, voice prints, geolocation information, browsing and search history, not just on TikTok, but on other apps, and keystroke patterns and rhythms. Why do you need all of this personal data, especially on our children, which seems to be more than any other platform collects?
Senator, many outside researchers and experts that look at this have pointed out that TikTok actually collects less data than many of our peers. And on the keystroke issue.
Outside researchers that you're paying for?
No, Senator.
You would submit that to independent outside researchers, because what we're seeing with all of this biometric data and the keystroke patterns, that you are exceeding that. So what do you do with this? Are you creating a virtual you of the children that are on your site?
Senator, I don't know what you mean by virtual you.
Well, a virtual you is you and your presence online. It's like a virtual dossier. I'm sure you understand that term. And what do you need with all of this information? Do you track children's viewing patterns? Are you building a replication of where they go, their search history, their voice, their biometrics? And why does TikTok and ByteDance and Douyin need that information on our children?
Senator, TikTok is an entertainment platform where people watch and enjoy and create short-form videos. It's about uplifting and entertaining content. People love it. And I disagree with the characterization of the way.
That is it from the positive. But there's also a negative. And the negative is that you are building a profile, a virtual you, of our children because of the data that you're collecting. You mentioned the family parent provision that you have. So when you have a parent that goes on that, are they opening their data to TikTok? And is TikTok following them or following and capturing their search history? See, Mr. Beckerman, when you capture all of this data and you hold all of this data, then you are invading the property, the privacy of individuals that are on your site. And that applies to you, to Ms. Stout, to Ms. Miller, because you say because you are using the platform, we can do this. But in essence, what you're doing is making our children and their data, you're making that the product, because you turn around and you sell it, and then basically it becomes weaponized against their users. Mr. Chairman, I'm over time. I have several questions for Ms. Stout, Ms. Miller, and we'll do those in a second round.
We'll have a second round. Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you to both of you. Reports indicate that nearly half of kids 9 to 12 and a third of kids age 7 to 9 use social media on platforms like Facebook, Insta, Snap, TikTok, YouTube. I don't think parents are going to stand by while our kids and our democracy become collateral damage to a profit game. And I heard last night Mark Zuckerberg's words to his earnings report. And while he may be out there acting as a victim at his $29 billion quarter earnings report meeting, the true victims, the mom in Duluth who can't get her kid off Facebook to do her homework, the dad mourning losing a child to a Snap speed filter that measured the kid at going 123 miles per hour, trying to beat the filter, or a child exposed to content glorifying eating disorders on TikTok. So I have had a case right in my state, 2 cases actually, of young people who got drugs through SNAP. And I wanted to first start out with that with you, Ms. Stout. This is a story, there's 2 kids, Devin Noring, Ryan Mcpherson. Devin's story, he was suffering from dental pain at the beginning of the pandemic. He couldn't go in to see a doctor. He'd been given a Percocet before, and a classmate said he had a Percocet. Well, what this young man did not know is that this Percocet was laced with fentanyl, and he died just like that. As his mom said in a letter to me, all of the hopes and dreams we as parents had for Devin were erased in the blink of an eye. A group of parents, including Devin's mother, Bridget, demanded answers and accountability from SNAP on this issue in a letter to you in September. Ms. Stout, I want to know what the answers are. Will you commit to providing more information about the automated tools SNAP uses to proactively search for illegal drug-related content as the parents ask?
Senator, I very much appreciate you raising this issue because it has been a devastating crisis that's been afflicting our young people. I want to make clear we are absolutely determined to remove all drug dealers from Snapchat, and we have been very public about our efforts in this space. First of all, we have stepped up our operational efforts, and my heart goes out to the family of Devin Noring. I've met with Bridget Noring. I met with her back in April. I heard from her and other families to understand what is happening to them, their experience, and also what's happening on Snapchat. We have stepped up and we have deployed proactive detection measures to get in ahead of what the drug dealers are doing. They are constantly evading our tactics, not just on Snapchat, but on every platform. We've also stepped up our work with law enforcement. Just last week, we had a law enforcement summit where we gathered over 2,000 members of law enforcement across the country so that we can understand what they're dealing with and find out best practices on how we can get them the information they need to help their investigation. And finally, Senator, this is so important, but we have deployed an education and awareness campaign because what is happening on our platforms all across social media and technology platforms is that young people who are suffering from mental health and stress induced by the pandemic and other issues, they are reaching for substances, oftentimes pills and opioids, but these substances are laced with fentanyl, enough fentanyl to kill them.
Mm-hmm. But here's my problem is that if a kid had just walked into, say, a pharmacy, you wouldn't be able to buy that or get that. But in this case, they can get on your platform and just find a way to buy it. And that is the problem. And I guess I want to know, are you going to get your drugs? I appreciate everything you said. I appreciate you meeting with the mom. Are you going to get drugs off Snapchat when you have all these kids, half the kids in America looking at these platforms?
I assure you, this is such a top priority for our entire company. And Senator, it's not just happening on our platform, it's happening on others. So therefore, we need to work collectively with other platforms, the other companies that are here today.
That's good.
To work together.
Okay, thank you. I think there's other ways to do this too, as creating liability when this happens. So maybe that'll make you work even faster so we don't lose another kid. Mr. Beckerman, recent investigation by the Wall Street Journal found that TikTok's algorithm can push young users into content glorifying eating disorders, drug, violence. Have you stopped that?
Yes, Senator. I don't agree with the way the Wall Street Journal went about that, but with that said, we have made a number of improvements to the way people can have control over the algorithm and have age-appropriate content on TikTok.
Okay, and what are those changes? Like, are they still getting, they're completely protected now from this content?
Senator, the content related to drugs, as you're pointing out, it violates our community guidelines. As it relates to minor safety, over 97% of violative content is removed proactively. Of course, we want to get to 100%, and it's something that we're constantly working on.
Are you aware of any research studies your company has conducted about how your apps may push content promoting eating disorders to teens?
No, Senator.
Okay. Did you ask for any hurdle studies on eating disorders before testifying?
Not that I'm aware, but we do work with outside experts to understand all of these issues. I think it should be done in a transparent way. As I mentioned earlier, I'd love to see the Camera Act passed so we can have additional research in the public domain that all of us can learn from and improve.
Okay, I'll save my questions for Ms. Miller for the next round. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Klobuchar. And again, I would remind everyone that you've committed to provide the research that you just referred to in your responses to Senator Klobuchar. All of you have committed to provide that research, and we'll look forward to receiving it within days or weeks, not months. And I particularly appreciate Senator Klobuchar's reference to creating liability as a strong incentive, which would involve reform of Section 230. I understand.
And Mr. Chair, if I could put this letter in from the parents into
Sure.
the record.
Without objection.
Thank you.
We've been joined by Senator Cantwell remotely.
Mr. Chairman, I would defer to my colleagues, Senator Markey and Senator Baldwin.
Thanks very much. Senator Markey.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, very much. The problem is clear. Big tech preys on children and teens to make more money. Now is the time for the legislative solutions to these problems. And that starts with privacy. I've introduced bipartisan legislation to give children and teens a privacy bill of rights for the 21st century. Today, a 13-year-old girl on these apps has no privacy rights. She has no ability to say no. No, you can't gobble up data about me. No, you can't use that data to power algorithms that push toxic content towards me. No, you can't profile me to manipulate me and keep me glued to your apps. No, you have no rights. 13-year-old girl in the United States of America in the year 2021. My bipartisan Children and Teens Online Privacy Protection Act gives 13, 14, and 15-year-olds that right to say no. To each witness, do you support my legislation to update the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act to give that 13, 14, and 15-year-old control of their data? Ms. Stout.
Senator Markey, I just want to say that we absolutely support a federal privacy proposal, and we've worked very hard with members of this body to try to...
Do you support my child protection, my teen protection law? Do you support it?
So, Senator, we agree that there should be additional protections put against young people to protect them further from...
Right. So you've had a chance to look at the Child Online Privacy Protection update that I've introduced. It's been out there for years. Do you support it or not?
I think, Senator, we'd love to talk to you a bit more about some of the
we've been
issues.
listen, this is just what drives us crazy. We want to talk, we want to talk, we want to talk. This bill's been out there for years, and you still don't have a view on it. Do you support it or not?
I think there are things that we would like to work with you on, Senator.
Listen, this is just the old game. Mr. Beckerman, do you support the Child Online Privacy Protection Act being updated the way my legislation does?
Senator, thank you for your leadership on this issue. It's been very important. Yes, we agree that COPPA needs to be updated, particularly as it relates to the way age verification happens across the internet. It's an area that I think has been not given as much attention as it deserves, that we do agree that COPPA does need to be updated.
Do you support my legislation updated? You've had plenty of time to look at it.
We like your approach. However, I think a piece that should be included is a better way to verify age across the internet, across apps, rather than the system that is in place now. And I think with that improvement, it would be something that we'd be happy to support.
Okay, Ms. Miller.
Senator, we also support the goals of updated comprehensive privacy legislation on your specific bill. I know we've had conversations with your staff in a constructive manner, and I would welcome continuing to do that.
Yeah, but it's going to happen soon, because this is a crisis that, thank you, Senator Blumenthal, thank you, Congresswoman Blackburn, this has just surfaced in a way that's clear that we don't have any more time. We have to get this finished. Your platforms are full of young teens. Among young teens, 49% say they're on TikTok, 52% say they're on Snapchat, 81% say they're on YouTube. And those users, those 13-year-olds, they deserve the right to say, no, you can't track me. You all, do you agree with that, Ms. Stout? You can't track me. You do agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that,
You agree
Senator.
with that, Mr. Beckerman?
Yes, Senator.
Do you agree with that, Ms. Miller?
Yes, Senator, and we have tools for all of our users to handle and control and make choices as it relates to the information that is gathered.
Okay, the bill also would ban targeted ads to children, apps that should never be allowed to track a 10-year-old's browsing history and bombard him with ads based on that data. Ms. Miller, you said that YouTube Kids platform prohibits targeted ads to children. Do you agree that Congress must ban targeted ads to children?
Senator, I defer to you and your peers in terms of what you would want to move forward. But again, we have not waited for laws like this.
No, I'm saying to
When
you,
we-
would you support to make sure there's a uniform banning of this practice? If you've already adopted it as a company, would you support that being the standard that we have for all platforms across the country?
As you describe it, it's consistent with the approach we've already taken.
And you would support it? Is that what you're saying?
Senator, again, we are already doing this and
No, I'm
and
asking
would
you, would
support
you
it
support?
consistent.
No, we're trying to draft a law here. Would you support that provision being in a law that prohibited it?
Senator, yes, as we already prohibit targeted
Okay,
advertising on
that's all we're
YouTube
trying
Kids
to
as
do,
it is.
just get to yes, so that we can legislate it. So that we can legislate. Ms. Berkman, Ms. Stout, same question, should kids ban targeted ads to kids?
Senator, we offer those tools already where kids can opt out and not have targeted ads served to them.
Would you support that as a national law, that we ban it?
Senator, an example of that has been the age-appropriate design code, which we adhere to, and I can tell you, Senator, we are looking at exactly that model to
Would you
apply
support
elsewhere.
it as a law that this body passes this year just to prohibit it? If you say it's wrong, should we prohibit it?
We offer those, and we agree with the approach, so,
So yes, you do support it, yes or no?
we agree with your approach, so we are applying it to more
Right, I
markets
appreciate what
outside of
you're
the-
doing. Right, we're now trying to say, if you support it, then we just support a law to
think we're
prohibit
very
anyone
close.
else from doing it. Yes?
I think we're very close, Senator, yes.
Very close. Okay, Mr. Beckerman.
Yes, Senator, I would also say that we should go beyond that, and part of the approach that we've taken is certain categories of ads shouldn't be shown to teenagers and young adults at all, and I think that should be part of the approach as well.
Okay, so we also need to go beyond privacy and tackle the design features that harm young people. Take like buttons. Senator Blumenthal and I have a bill, the Kids Act, which would ban these and other features that quantify popularity. The research is clear. These features turn apps into virtual popularity contests and are linked to feelings of rejection, low self-worth, and depression. Even YouTube Kids has acknowledged this problem and does not have like buttons. To each witness, should Congress ban features that quantify popularity for kids, yes or no?
Senator, as I mentioned in my opening statement, we don't have those metrics. We've never had a like button or comments because we don't think it should be a popularity contest, so we support that.
So you would support that, okay? Ms. Beckerman.
Senator, I think this one is one that it's a little bit more complex than that. We'd happy to have a conversation, but we have implemented much of the age-appropriate design code here in the United States and would encourage similar measures.
So I don't know that there was an answer in there. You said it's complicated. Do you support banning it or not?
On banning likes,
Likes, yes.
I think again, if we wanted to set it by age, that's something that we could look at.
Ms. Miller.
Senator, as you noted, we are already prohibit things on YouTube Kids such as being able to comment, and we would support working with you in regulation in this area.
Okay, well, you would support working with us, but would you support banning likes?
Yes, Senator, again, we already do not allow for this on the YouTube Kids platform.
Good. And again, the American Academy of Pediatrics just declared a national state of emergency for children and teen mental health. We need to outlaw the online features that exacerbate this crisis. The question that we have to answer ultimately is whether or not, for example, we're going to ban autoplay for kids. With this feature, when one video ends, another quickly begins. Kids stay glued to their phones, so apps collect more data and make more money. Today, 82% of parents are worried about their kids' screen time. To each of you today, do you agree that Congress should ban autoplay for kids? Yes or no? Ms. Miller, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, Senator, each of the items that you're outlining, we already prohibit. We have the default set to autoplay off on YouTube Kids as well as for supervised experiences.
Okay, so you would support that being legislated?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Beckerman.
For us, Senator, we have take-a-break videos and time management tools, but as it relates to autoplay on TikTok, you have to proactively switch to the next video.
So would you support that legislation passing then, which would ban autoplay?
We'd be happy to look at it and talk to you about it.
You don't do it.
Again, I think it's important as we look at age-appropriate features for teens. It's something that we build into TikTok proactively. But again, as we look at legislation, I do think a first step is something around age verification across apps.
Okay. Again, this is the historic problem. Yes, Ms. Stout, would you support it?
Senator Markey, I don't believe we have autoplay on Snapchat, so I would defer and say that that's something we need to look at more closely. Okay. And I'm not familiar with that piece of the proposal in your legislation.
Okay, great. We have a lot of work to do. We have to telescope the time frame, I think, Mr. Chairman, to get these people to finally
Telescoping the
time
frame
finally
sounds good.
start acting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thanks, Senator Markey. Thanks for all your good work. Senator Baldwin. Or actually, I see Senator Cantwell is here. Oh, sorry, Senator Thune.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We all know social media offers a lot of benefits and opportunities, but like has been expressed this morning, I have concerns about the lack of transparency online and limited accountability of big tech companies. And one of the major problems with social media that has been increasingly concerning is social media's platforms' use of algorithms to shape and manipulate users' experience, resulting in individuals being trapped in what we call the filter bubble. The filter bubble can be particularly troubling for younger users. For example, a recent Wall Street Journal article described in detail how TikTok's algorithm serves up sex and drug videos to minors. I have a bill, the Filter Bubble Transparency Act, and another bill called the PACT Act that would make significant strides in addressing the lack of transparency online, and importantly, the Filter Bubble Transparency Act would give consumers the option to engage with internet platforms without being manipulated by opaque algorithms. So let me just ask you, do you believe consumers should be able to use social media platforms without being manipulated by algorithms designed to keep them engaged on the platform? Mr. Beckerman, start with you, then we'll go Ms. Miller and Ms. Stout.
Yes, Senator, we agree that there needs to be transparency in the way algorithms work and additional choice for individuals as they're using them.
Ms. Miller?
Senator, we do provide transparency in the way that our systems and practices work.
Ms. Stout?
Senator Thune, it's important to understand that what we apply algorithms to is a very small set of content, and we do provide transparency to our users, where users get to select interest categories that then determine the kind of content that they're served up. But it's not an unlimited list or set of user-generated content. It's quite narrow.
But I don't know that you or Ms. Miller really answered the question, and that is, should consumers who use these social media platforms be able to use them without being manipulated by algorithms?
Senator, yes, I agree with you.
Ms. Miller?
Yes, Senator.
Mr. Beckerman, what's your response to the Wall Street Journal article that described in detail how TikTok's algorithm serves up sex and drug videos to minors?
Senator, thank you for the question. Sex and drugs or violations of our community guidelines have no place on TikTok. As it relates to the Wall Street Journal article, we disagree with that being an authentic experience that an actual user would have.
Your platform is perhaps more driven by algorithms than any other social media platform available today, more so even than Facebook. Unlike Facebook, TikTok's algorithm is not constrained by a user's social network. On July 29, 2020, TikTok's former CEO, Kevin Meyer, wrote, and I quote, that we believe all companies should disclose their algorithms, moderation policies, and data flows to regulators, end quote. TikTok also states on its website that it makes TikTok source code available for testing and evaluation to guests at its Transparency and Accountability Center. Has TikTok disclosed their algorithms, moderation policies, and data flows to any federal or state regulators?
Senator, yes, I mean, as we pointed out, we do have these transparency centers, and we've done, I don't think, over 100 tours with members of the Senate and their staff and others in the U.S. government, and we'd be happy to continue to be transparent in how that works.
And I think maybe that Senator Blumenthal maybe touched on this, but in keeping with TikTok's disclosure practices announced in July of 2020, would you commit to providing TikTok's algorithms, moderation policies, and data flows to this committee so that we may have independent experts review them?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Miller, does YouTube engage in efforts to change its users' attitudes, behaviors, or influence its users in any way?
Senator, when users come to YouTube, they come to search and discover all types of content. For example, how to bake bread, to watch a church service, or to do exercise. And as a result, they are introduced to a diversity of content that isn't based on a particular network that they are a part of. In so doing, there may be additional videos that are recommended to them based on some signals, but those signals will be overridden to make sure that we are not recommending harmful content.
Back to Mr. Beckerman. All Chinese internet companies are compelled by China's national intelligence law to turn over any and all data that the government demands, and that power is not limited by China's borders. Has TikTok provided data to the Chinese government on Chinese persons living in the United States or elsewhere outside of China?
No, Senator. TikTok is also not available in China, and as I'd like to point out that our servers with U.S. data are stored in the United States.
Does TikTok censor videos of Tank Man, the famous video of the young man who stood his ground in front of a procession of Chinese Army tanks during the 1989 Tiananmen Square crackdown in Beijing?
No, Senator. You can find that content on TikTok if you search for it.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that, as has already been pointed out on the committee, that I think there are a number of things that we need to address. Congress needs to be heard from in this space, and particularly with respect to the use of algorithms and the way that users are manipulated, and as you've all already pointed out, particularly young people. So I hope that we can move quickly and directly and in a meaningful way to address this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have strong bipartisan consensus on that issue. Thank you, Senator Thune. Senator Baldwin.
Thank you, Chairman Blumenthal. I would like to just note that this series of hearings really began with the revelation that internal research at Facebook revealed the negative impacts on teenagers' body images from using the company's Instagram platform. And we learned, based on research by the chairman's staff, how quickly somebody on Instagram can go from viewing content on healthy eating to being directed towards postings that focus on unhealthy practices, including glorifying eating disorders. I know we don't have Facebook and Instagram before us today, but I'm particularly concerned about the impact that that type of content can have on young users. I recently joined Senators Klobuchar and Capito, with whom we sponsored the Anna Weston Act, legislation to support training and education on eating disorders, on a letter to Facebook and Instagram seeking more details about how they handle this issue. But I want to ask each of you, can you briefly outline the steps your companies are taking to remove content that promotes unhealthy body image and eating disorders and direct users to supportive resources instead? And in particular, how are you focusing on this issue with regard to your younger users? Why don't we start with Mr. Beckerman and TikTok?
Thank you, Senator. I myself have 2 young daughters, and this is something that I care a lot about, and our teams at TikTok care a lot about. One, I want to assure you, we do aggressively remove content like you're describing that would be problematic for eating disorders and problem eating. Second, we work with outside groups and direct people that are seeking help. And one thing we've heard is that people that are struggling with eating disorders or other weight loss issues come to TikTok to express themselves in a positive way, and so it has been a more of a positive source. And lastly, we don't allow ads that target people based on weight loss and that kind of content.
Ms. Stout.
Thank you, Senator Baldwin. I want to make clear that the content that you describe, content that glorifies eating disorders or self-harm, is a complete violation of our community guidelines. Also, as I described earlier, we don't allow unvetted, unmoderated content from being surfaced up to our users. Discover, which is our media publisher platform, which we partner on with people and publishing companies like the Wall Street Journal or NBC News, all of that content is vetted and moderated ahead of time. But specifically, yes.
Can I interrupt and ask, is that done through AI or humans?
No, these are handpicked partners that Snapchat has selected to say, in this closed garden of content, which is Discover, we will allow certain publishers and media companies to provide news, entertainment content, ESPN or CMT or the Washington Post, in fact. So users can come, look at that content. It's all pre-moderated and curated. So it's not an unlimited source of user-generated content where you could go down a rabbit hole, perhaps, and access that kind of hurtful, damaging content on body image. But I think you raised a very interesting question. What are the products that you're surfacing? How are we helping users find positive resources? And as a result, we did conduct research about the mental health effects of body image and self-harm, and we created a product called Here For You. This was created in 2020 in the height of the pandemic. When users are in Snapchat and they search anorexia or eating disorder, instead of perhaps being led to content that could be harmful, that content which is against our guidelines, we now surface expert resources that show content that can help that user. Maybe help them, maybe help their friends. So this is a redirection of that kind of search for potentially hurtful and harmful content that then steers the user to resources that may help them or a member of their, circle of friends.
Ms. Miller.
Senator, we take a comprehensive and really holistic approach on topics like these. We prohibit content that promotes or glorifies things such as eating disorders. It has no place on our platform. But we also realize that users come to share their stories about these experiences or find a community, let alone to find authoritative sources, which is what we raise up on searches like this. In addition, we also roll out programs and initiatives such as the With Me campaign, whereby we are encouraging users to spend their time, particularly during COVID, in pursuing healthy habits. So we look at this in a very holistic way to make sure that YouTube is a platform where people come and they have a healthy experience, and we, again, prohibit the type of content that glorifies or promotes these issues such as eating disorders.
And just if I can follow up the same way I did with Ms. Stout, when you remove content, how are you filtering that out? Are you using artificial intelligence, or are you using a team of humans who are, a team of people who are looking at that content and deciding whether to remove it or not?
It's a mix, Senator. So it's a mix of when we develop content policies, we rely on experts to inform the development of these policies. And then we have machine learning to help us capture this type of content at scale. You'll see in our quarterly transparency report that more than 90% of content that violates our community guidelines are flagged originally by machines. And then there's a mix of human reviewers.
Thank you. I want to thank the Senator Blumenthal and Senator Blackburn for holding this subcommittee hearing. And as the witnesses can see, our colleagues are well-informed and very anxious to get legislative fixes to things that they think are crucial to protecting individuals and protecting people's privacy. So I want to thank them for that. Yesterday, Motherboard Vice had an article that basically the headline was location data from GPS data from apps are given even when people have opted out. So basically, I'm going to enter this for the record unless there's objection, but quote, the news highlights a stark problem that smartphone users, that they can't actually be sure if some apps are respecting their explicit preferences around data sharing. The data transfer presents an issue for the location data companies themselves. So basically, these companies are reporting information about location even when people have explicitly opted out. And so they're continuing to collect this information. That is what the report of researchers and Motherboard found. So I have a question. Do you believe that location data is sensitive data and should be collected only with consumers' consent? So all the witnesses, please.
Yes, Senator, we agree.
Yes, Senator, agree.
Yes, Senator. And for users, they have access to their account under My Activity and My Account and can modify their settings, delete their history, and things of that nature. It's all just one click away.
So any federal privacy law should make sure that that's adhered to. I see a nod. Is that?
Yes, Senator.
Yes, Senator.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do any of you share location data with the company that's in this article? It's Huck, I think, H-U-K. They're a major data.
Senator, I've never heard of that company. I'm not aware.
Okay.
Senator, I'm not aware of the company, but we also don't collect GPS data.
Well, you would be affiliated with them in some way. I mean, they're getting this information anyway. So I'm sorry, the last witness, do you know?
Senator, I'm also not aware of the company.
Okay, maybe you can help us for the record on this so that we know. But this is exactly what the public is frustrated about and concerned about, particularly when harm can be done. That, they go to a website, they say to the website, I don't want my sensitive information to be shared. And then there's this conglomerate of data gathering on top of that that's not honoring those wishes as it relates to the interface with those apps. So this is, I think, exactly why we need a strong privacy law and why we should, protect consumers on this. In the Facebook hearing we had this discussion about advertising and the issue of whether advertisers knew exactly what the content was they were being advertised. Now, I get that, we're also seeing a migration of major companies like Procter & Gamble and others who are moving off of the internet because they're like, I'm done with it. I don't want my ad because it's now run by a system. I don't want my ad just appearing next to certain kinds of content. And so, but what was more startling is that there may be actual deceptive practices here where people are saying, oh, this content is this, when in reality it is something else. In some of these cases we just discussed with Facebook, objectionable hate speech and content that we don't even think should be online, and yet that's not what the advertisers knew. So on your websites, do advertisers know what content they're being placed next to?
So, Senator, I can respond to your question. Yes, our advertisers do know where their advertisements show up, and As I had mentioned, Discover, which is that closed curated garden, those advertisements appear next to publishers and verified users that we have hand-selected to allow to appear. So on a platform like Snapchat, there is no broadcast disinformation or hate speech, and that's why I think Snapchat is in fact a very appealing place for advertisers because they know their advertisements will be placed next to safe content.
Mr. Beckerman?
Yes, Senator. Advertisers come to TikTok in particular because our content is known for being so authentic and uplifting and fun, and we see ads that are very much like TikTok videos, which are the same themes.
Ms. Miller?
Senator, we have worked with our advertising partners over the years to make sure that they have trust in the fact that advertising on YouTube is safe for their brands in the same way that we have worked significantly to make sure that users themselves have a safe experience on the platform. And the advertising associations have recognized the work that we have done in this space so that their brands are safe on the platform.
Thank you. I'll probably have a follow-up on this, but Senator Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Miller, I'd like to start with you, if that's all right. I want to ask you a particular question regarding YouTube's app age rating. Now, Google Play has the app rating set at teen, meaning 13 and up, while the Apple Store has it rated as 17 and up. Can you tell me why this disparity exists? That is, if Apple determined that the age rating for YouTube ought to be 17 and up, why did Google determine that its own app should be rated as teen, meaning 13 and up?
Senator, I'm unfamiliar with the differences that you've just outlined, but I would be happy to follow up with you and your staff once I get more details on this.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to know about that. It is a simple question. I understand you may not be able to answer it right now if as it sounds, you don't have the information, but I would just like to know why that difference exists and whether you agree or disagree with the fact that Google has rated its own app as 13 and up, while Apple is rated as 17 and up. But I'm happy to follow up on that in writing or otherwise. Ms. Stout, I want to address a similar issue with regard to Snapchat. Now, Snapchat is rated 12 and up on Apple, and it's rated teen on the Google Play Store. Any idea why there is that disparity there?
Senator, that's a very good question, and I for some reason I've heard somewhere the reason why Apple lists at 12 and up. It's an app that's intended for a teen audience.
Right. And why is there a disparity between the age rating and the content that's available on that platform?
Senator, the content that appears on Snapchat is appropriate for an age group of 13 and above.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute, because I beg to differ. In anticipation of this discussion and this hearing, I had my staff create a Snapchat account for a 13-year-old, for a 15-year-old child. Now, they didn't select any content preferences for the account. They simply entered a name, a birth year, and an email address. And then when they opened the Discover page on Snapchat, with its default settings, they were immediately bombarded with content that I can most politely describe as wildly inappropriate for a child, including recommendations for, among other things, an invite to play an online sexualized video game that's marketed itself to people who are 18 and up, tips on, quote, why you shouldn't go to bars alone, notices for video games that are rated for ages 17 and up, and articles about porn stars. Now, let me remind you that this inappropriate content that has by default been recommended for a 15-year-old child is something that was sent to them by an app just using the default settings. So I respectfully but very strongly beg to differ on your characterization that the content is in fact suitable for children 13 and up, as you say. Now, according to your own website, the Discover is a list of recommended stories. So how and why does Snapchat choose these inappropriate stories to recommend to children? How does that happen? How would that happen?
So, Senator, allow me to explain a little bit about Discover. Discover really is a closed content platform, and yes, indeed, we do select and hand select partners that we work with. And that kind of content is designed to appear on Discover and resonate with an audience that is 13 and above. I am unfamiliar, and I've taken notes about what you have said that your account surfaced. I want to make clear that what content and community guidelines suggest that any online sexual video game should be age gated to 18 and above. So I am unclear why that content would have shown up in an account that was for a 14-year-old. But these community guidelines and publisher guidelines that are on top of those guidelines are intended to be an age-appropriate experience for a 13-year-old.
Right. I understand that. You have these community guidelines that are there, and they note that advertisers and media partners in Discover agree to additional guidelines. What are these additional guidelines? I mean, I can guess only that they permit these age-inappropriate articles to be shared with children.
Senator,
how would that not be the case?
So these additional guidelines on top of community guidelines are things that suggest they may not glorify violence, that any news articles must be accurate and fact-checked, that there is no...
Well, I'm sure the articles about the porn stars were accurate and fact-checked. And I'm sure that the tips on why you shouldn't go to bars alone are accurate and fact-checked, but that's not my question. This is about whether it's appropriate for children ages 13 and up, as you've certified.
Absolutely. And Senator, I think this is an area where we're constantly evolving, and if there are any instances where these publishers are surfacing content to an age cohort that is inappropriate, then they will be removed from our platform.
Okay, so you review them? What kind of oversight do you conduct on this, and what?
We use a variety of human review as well as automated review, and so I would very much be interested in talking to you and your staff about what kind of content this was, because if it violates our guidelines, that kind of content would come down. And just, Senator, one last thing. While I would agree with you, tastes vary when it comes to the kind of content that is promoted on Discover. There is no content there that is illegal. There is no content there that is hurtful. I mean, it really is intended to be a closed ecosystem where we have better control over the type of content that surfaces.
Now, Madam Chair, I just have one follow-up question. I just realized my...
Yes, go ahead,
I'll be
Senator
brief.
Lee, and then our colleague, Senator Lujan.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
waiting.
Madam Chair. So Snapchat has assured its users that it doesn't collect identifying data on them for advertising. How does Snapchat then decide what content is pushed to the top of their Discover page?
So, Senator, if you go into your Snapchat account, you have the ability to select preferences, it's interest categories. And there are several interest categories that a user can select or unselect if they wish. That could be they like, to watch movies, or they enjoy sports, or they are fans of country music. At any point, it is completely transparent, and a user has the ability to go in and select what they like, and that determines the kind of content that is surfaced to them. If there is any content that they don't like, they can uncheck or check, and that really generates the kind of content that a user in Discover would see.
Okay, my time's expired. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I really do think we've got to get to the bottom of this. These app ratings are inappropriate. We all know that there's content on Snapchat and on YouTube, among many other places, that's not appropriate for children ages 12 or 13 and up.
Well, I thank you, Senator Lee, and I would say to my line of questioning, and it's not appropriate to tell advertisers that it's not located next to content, and then it is next to content that is inappropriate. Senator Lujan.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Ms. Stout, in your testimony, you mentioned that all content on Snapchat on the Spotlight page is human reviewed before it can be viewed by more than 25 people. Ms. Stout, yes or no, does human review help Snapchat reduce the spread of potentially harmful content?
Yes, Senator, we believe it does.
And I appreciate Snapchat's approach to this problem. More platforms should work to stop harmful content from going viral. However, far too often we find companies say one thing to Congress, and then once attention is diverted and the public is distracted, they go around and do the very thing they were warning us against. Can I hold you to that? Will Snapchat continue to keep a human in the loop before content is algorithmically promoted to large audiences?
Well, Senator, this is the first time I've testified here before Congress, so please hold me to it. But at Snapchat, we have taken a very human moderation first approach, not just on Spotlight, but across our platform. So yes, indeed, human moderation will continue to play a huge part of how we moderate content on our platform and how we keep our users safe.
I'm glad to see the importance of platforms taking responsibility before they amplify content and especially publish it to a mass audience, and it's something that many of us share. It's why I introduced the Protecting Americans from Dangerous Algorithms Act as well. Online platforms must be responsible when they're actively promoting hateful and dangerous content. Ms. Miller, I'm grateful that YouTube is making an effort to be more transparent regarding the number of users that view content in violation of your community guidelines. However, I'm concerned with one trend. Earlier this year, I wrote a letter to YouTube with 25 of my colleagues on the crisis of non-English misinformation on the platform. We need to make sure all communities, no matter the language they use at home, have the same access to good, reliable information. Ms. Miller, will YouTube publish its violative view rates broken down by language?
Senator, thank you for your question, and what you're referring to is this latest data point that we shared earlier this year, in which for every 10,000 views on YouTube, 19 to 21 of those views are of content that is violative, and we apply our content policies at a global scale across languages. We do not preference any one language over another, and this includes for the violative view rate.
And Ms. Miller, I don't believe that's good enough. When we don't break algorithms down by their performances across different groups of people, we end up making existing gaps, existing biases worse. We've seen this with facial recognition technology that unfairly targeted communities of color, and according to reports, we're seeing this happen right now on YouTube. So I'll ask again, will YouTube publish its violative view rate broken down by language?
Senator, I would be happy to follow up with you to talk through these details. As I said, for all of our content policies and the enforcement there within and the transparency we provide, it is global in scope and it is across languages.
I definitely look forward to following up and working with you in that space. Mr. Beckerman, before launching TikTok for younger users, did TikTok do any internal research to understand the impact it would have on young children?
Thank you, Senator. I'm not aware, but for TikTok for younger users, the content is curated with common sense networks, and it's an age-appropriate experience, but I'm not aware of any specific research.
I'd like to follow up on that as well, because products like TikTok can lead to addictive behavior and body image issues in young children, and it's critical that platforms work to understand these problems before they take place. This is a very serious issue, and it's one that's finally getting the attention that it deserves with revelations and whistleblowers that have come forth. I urge you to take this opportunity to begin a transparent public evaluation of the impact your product is having on young children. And in the end, I just want to follow up on something that many of us have commented on leading up to these important hearings. And I appreciate the chair's attention to this, the ranking member. Both of them have authored legislation. Our chair and ranking member of the subcommittee.
Both of these hearings, and for the larger full committee, we had planned to move forward on many of these agenda items anyway, but we're very appreciative of the subcommittee doing some of this work in having members have a chance to have very detailed interactions on these policies that we need to take action on. So very much appreciate that. So I see Senator Blumenthal has returned. Thank you so much, and I'll turn it over to you.